Body, as usual, our officers that support us in this meeting, very appreciated. Ashley, thank you for your attendance. Also Chris, and for those online, welcome. And to our public gallery, we have a member of the public, welcome also. And we'll carry on straight away with the minutes of the last meeting. We need to confirm it's a true record. Probably need a proposer for that, please. Thank you, Debbie. Could I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Karen. And those in favour of approving the minutes? Thank you. Those, yeah, so you're abstaining, Jonathan, one abstention. Thank you. Any declarations of interest on items on the agenda? There being no declarations of interest. Public question time. Well, we do have a member of the public, and we do have, I have 4 public questions. Let's Paddy, let's start with you, Paddy. I do have it in writing, but please feel free to ask your question.
Thank you. The decision being presented to you is to reinstate the lapsed PSPO, closing Lake Slipway to dog owners and significantly reducing the ability of dog owners with mobility issues to access the dog-friendly beach. In 2020, the council conducted public consultation to migrate existing dog control orders into a PSPO. You stated then no new proposals or zones were being made. However, the map of the zone for Sandown was extended west beyond Lake Slipway, altering the pre-existing dog control zone. At the time, I challenged this, and the original dog control order map replaced the incorrect map for the consultation. Disappointingly, after the PSPO was authorised, both the online maps on the council website and the signage that was installed used the incorrect map, closing Lake Slipway to dog owners. Will this council revert to the correct zone map for Sandown for this PSPO reinstatement and publish accordingly? Thank you.
And thank you for that question, Paddy. Look, I've got a reply, a written reply. I'll read it out because I feel that those online and in the room should hear that. But I can say that later on it's an item on this agenda, and there is some discussion to be had, and I know that there are slight amendments to be made to the written paper. But let me read a reply, Paddy. So the Public Spaces Protection Order paper sets out a recommendation to reinstate, amongst other orders, the dogs on beach restrictions from May to September on a number of beaches. The maps used in the consultation are the same maps from 2020, the dog exclusion orders, which are attached to our papers. In respect of the Sandown dog control exclusion zone, the Cabinet meeting on the 13th of April 2010, some while ago, approved an order to put in place the exclusion zone indicated in the map as yellow hatching, which extended southwest across the frontage of the public conveniences in Lake. But in 2020, this map and exclusion zone was replaced with a shorter length, indicated again below. This is on the written reply, Paddy, by the red line drawing in figure 1, page 2. This stops short of the slipway, allowing walkers with dogs to access the foreshore via the slipway. And finally, the consultation on dog exclusion zones in 2024 has used the maps from 2019, which includes the shorter distance at Lake. We'll consider this a little later, as I said, and there will be an amendment to that. That will be provided, Paddy, as a written reply to you as a matter of formality and course. Do you have a follow-up question?
It ties into that, if I may, Chair. Yes, please. The consultation on the PSPO regarding the dog orders did not ask for a response concerning time limits on the dog exclusion zones. Despite that, in the words of the report you have before you, a significant number of comments received suggested that time limits were added to dog exclusion areas. In Sandown Bay at high tide, there is no dog-friendly beach, i.e. there is no beach area that isn't underwater that dog users can use in nearly 6 kilometres of that stretch, apart from Yaverland. The island is a tourist destination and tourists do come with dogs. Is it not time that we follow what other destinations have done and utilise a time limit that we're welcoming to tourists with dogs, and also promote the health and well-being of our residents with their dogs, encouraging them to exercise when they can?
Thank you, Paddy. I think my brief reply to that is this will be discussed and dealt with as an agenda item later on in this agenda. And I hope that at that time gives you some comfort in your queries tonight. And thank you for attending. Thank you for your questions. It's appreciated. I have a further second written question from Mr. N. Binfield. And I'm going to read this out, I think. We will provide it as a written reply. I'm not sure if Mr. Binfield is online, but we will ask his question and reply to it. And so the question is, Director of Children's Services Jonathan Bacon has approved the school place planning proposals and will be responsible for deciding the outcome of the consultation process, which could result ultimately in the closure of Brading School. Jonathan Bacon is the ward councillor for Brading and St Helens. Each of the other schools threatened with closure has a county councillor representing and advocating for the ward and the school. Brading does not, due to the conflict in the Councillor Bacon's two roles. Can the council please advise who is to represent Brading through the consultation and decision-making process to ensure fair, equitable representation for all school areas involved? I'll reply. Before I do, I'd like to, if I may, correct some of the assertions in that question. The first one is that it alleges that Jonathan Bacon approved the school place planning proposals. That is not correct. The school place planning proposals was a corporate executive decision by this council. Secondly, it alleges that he will be responsible for deciding the outcome of the consultation process. That also is not correct. The decision will be taken by this cabinet in December, and any process of outcomes from that thereafter. And finally, a point of information: each of the other schools threatened with closure as a county councillor, my understanding is that the schools are to be repurposed and not necessarily closed. I just want to make this clarity in the question. But the reply is that the cabinet as a whole is tasked with considering the product of the consultation responses and to make their decision. There is no conflict of interest and no loss of representation due to Councillor Bacon being the local ward member for Brading and St Helens. It is because Councillor Bacon is a cabinet member and needs to consider the consultation responses that Councillor Bacon cannot prematurely express any predetermined view. Where councillors are part of a decision-making body such as cabinet, they are required to keep their mind open to persuasion until the moment of decision. All councillors are required to act in the wider public interest rather than private interests. So individuals may well have different views, even within a single ward. So the statutory consultation process has enabled diverse views to be directly submitted by individuals and others. No one has lost their opportunity to comment under the consultation process. as I said, the Cabinet will hold their debate and consider the views submitted during the consultation process at a meeting in December. That is our reply. That will be sent to Mr. Binfield, and it will be made public thereafter on the council website. That leads me to question 3, which is a question from Councillor Michael Lilly, who's a councillor. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for that clarification. There is another question I should read first, and I'll come to Councillor Lilly's question after. The question is from Mr. Ian Bond, and it's to the Cabinet Member for Climate Change, Biosphere and Waste. And the question is the Cabinet member aware that, with pet travel being a fast-growing sector and the island attracting increasing numbers of visitors who arrive with their pets, and many with seafront businesses struggling to attract custom on days when the weather disappoints, limiting beach PSPOs to only the most popular months and hours of the days presents an opportunity to boost both visitor attractiveness and the viability of island businesses at a relatively low one-off cost, as Cornwall County Council has successfully done. A unitary a devolved power authority. The reply, again, I will read the reply out. It will be provided as a written response to Mr. Bond and published on our website thereafter. So while the pet travel sector is growing, it's essential to recognise that many beachgoers seek a clean and safe environment for relaxation and recreation. Exclusion zones help provide a space where families, children and individuals can enjoy the beach without concerns about dog-related issues, including health risks associated with dog feces left on the sand. If the exclusion zone is not total and has a time frame, there is a potential for a dog owner to not clear feces or not totally clear feces after 6 p.m. This will then remain there, as will urine, which cannot be cleared, and leave contaminated sand where children will play and families will picnic. In areas above the high tide line where sand is not washed by the sea, this contamination will remain and the bacteria in dog feces can be harmful to humans. There are many beaches that can be visited with dogs all year round. There is a link on this answer for anybody, any member of the public or residents or visitors to access to discover what those beaches are. The cost to replace all signage is also considerable. I won't go into details, but it's over £10,000 to make those amendments. That is the response that will be provided as a written response and will be published on the website. And that leads me on to the question from Councillor Lilly, a councillor with the Isle of Wight Council. We will provide a written response. His question is as follows. In light of the government's decision to increase employers' national insurance by 2% and increase minimum wage, has the Isle of Wight Council undertaken a risk assessment of the possible impact on Isle of Wight businesses, local authorities and voluntary sector on services, job employment and the economy? The reply is this. A formal risk assessment has not been undertaken. However, officers are working with suppliers, contractors and partners to understand the full financial impact that the recent government budget announcements are likely to have. Once we have more information and it is available from the organisations most likely to be impacted, an assessment of risk will be undertaken and the council risk registers updated accordingly. On a second question from Councillor Lilly, he asks, what action will the Isle of Wight Council take to mitigate the risks of increased unemployment, business closure and service reduction, especially to the most vulnerable? And our reply is that the action available to the councils will be limited. The council remains committed to the delivery of the island's poverty reduction strategy, which is due to be considered by Cabinet on the 12th of December 2025. That's 2024. We will amend that. That's a typing error. Including supporting islanders who are unemployed to access work opportunities and protecting the island's most vulnerable residents. That's our reply. That will be provided to Councillor Lilly in written form and published on the council website. There being no further public questions, we will move on to chairman's announcements. I am making no announcements this evening, and so we will move on to the report of the Cabinet Member for Housing and Finance, Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Chair. There's more pressure falling onto local authorities, and obviously the Isle of Wight Council is getting its fair share. Up until the end of Q2, we are about, I don't know, give you the exact, £4.6 million overspent at the moment before the use of any corporate contingency. I'm confident that the contingencies that we've got in place will assist us in moving forward towards a reasonably fair result at the end of the year, and hopefully coming on budget. But we'll there's some element of work to be done on the financial side of this authority. What I would say is that when I've gone through the QPMRs, is that there's a few areas that have been hit quite a bit. One of them is adult social care, as you would imagine, and the other one is children's services. But what I would say is that the adult social care is being further hit by the autumn statement come budget that was only a week or so back, and that's going to cause pressures on adult social care, both direct services to clients' residents, but also to the nursing care and other support facilities out there. So we can expect that we're in for a tough few months even before we get into the 25-26 budget period and the budget setting that we've got to do. So I know it sounds a little bit challenging, but we're up for the challenge, and I think that we will come through this year and also next year. What I would like to do is just to bring you into the picture a little bit is looking at the adult social care key performance indicators on page 31, and this will actually give you an idea of what pressure there is on the adult social care at this moment in time. Average number of people, don't forget this is to the end of September, so we're now into another challenging period, but average number of people being supported by adult social care, 3,836 on the island. Previous equivalent period was 3,641. So you can see the numbers are steadily moving up. Average number of people living independently at home supported by adult social care, 1,238. Once again, moving up from the previous period of 1,198. And once again, average number of people supported in care homes has moved up to 783 from 777. So it gives you just a brief taster of what there is in the, as I say, at the start of the winter months. And there are going to be winter pressures, undoubtedly. And I just wanted to point that out. I'm not going to go through each individual department, but I know each individual area of service has their own plans for mitigation, along with the Section 151 officer and his finance team. So I'm going to leave it at that. I would say that alongside our adult social care pressures, we've got our housing pressures, which are never far from us, and we don't ever seem to be able to get any relief from the pressures. What I would say is, and I did bring in just a little bit of the housing needs and homelessness stats, and I'll bear in mind that we have families in temporary accommodation, and whilst I quote the figure, every number that adds up to that figure is a challenge, and is quite honestly a very sad indication of how we're faring. So I'm talking families in temporary accommodation. 190 families are in temporary accommodation at this moment on the Isle of Wight, and I know that you, Chair, are working with me to see what we can do to knock a hole in that and get people into good permanent accommodation. Yeah. The other sad thing that I want to bring to people's notice, especially as we're coming into the festive period, is children in bed and breakfast accommodation, and it's quite horrendous that we've got children in bed and breakfast coming into a Yuletide time of year, and 39 children in bed and breakfast. It's heartbreaking, to be quite honest. So that, and going with that, which is a secondary thing to me because it's the heartache and the hardship for those families, but is the cost that hits this local authority. And I'm not going to wheel out all the costs of a bed and breakfast and people's family, but all I wanted to do was to highlight our situation, the pressures on our housing team and our adult social care people. And don't forget, children in bed and breakfast accommodation also hits our education, our children's social care as well. So really, with regard to that, Chair, I think I'm going to leave it and leave it open. If anyone wishes to pick out anything in their own area of service that they wish to highlight, then please do. But I did think that adult social care was well worth a mention during this period of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Any comments, views, questions? Therefore, I'll just add that scrutiny considered this 2 nights ago, and no comments or questions were raised with regard to this issue. I would just say that there are pressures that the council are under, as Councillor Stevens has indicated, but I'd also like to encourage others to understand that our officers and our staff are working very hard to bring forward initiatives to mitigate some of the rising costs. I know in particular the Director of Children's Services here has some ideas about specific care leaving projects that have substantial savings for this authority, and he is intending to bring those forward in the coming weeks and months, ready for the following financial year. So there was some information from government that we were to receive a small amount of money, around 1.2 million, as an estimate from government this year, for next year, for adult social care. And along with the initiatives, whilst the challenges remain and the demand grows, we are doing all we can to turn the authority at the end of the financial year into as close to the budget as we are able to do. Obviously, there are challenges for next year's budget, but let's try and start that year, the next financial year, on a even keel, as it were, even though those savings for next year are still substantial. So there are some bright lights in this. We continue to ask for a fair funding for this authority from government. There are indications that there may be an additional payment this year, as there was last year, of 3 to 4 million. We won't know until the December settlement at the earliest. And we have been promised a fairer funding settlement review next year or thereafter. So there are some chinks of light in this after a long period of challenges and financial pressures. So we're working hard, our staff are working hard. I know Councillor Stevens spends an inaudible amount of time trying to make the finances and housing of this authority work for our community and for our council. So there we are. There's nothing to vote on. It is a report that we've seen, and thank you for that. Thank you for the officers who put all this together. Move on to the report for the Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care on two items. The first being the Isle of Wight partnership arrangements. This is page 223 in our papers and relates to the Director of Public Health. Over to you, Debbie.
Thank you, Leader. It's a statutory requirement that we do have a Director of Public Health. So just to put in context, in 2019, our partnership arrangement between the Isle of Wight Council and Hampshire County Council was formalised as a long-term arrangement for a period of 6 years. That's due to come to an end at the end of August 25. So this paper has come forward, as I've said, it is a statutory requirement to consider our options moving forward. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the current Director of Public Health and his team, who have brought us to a very strong position in terms of our public health. And it's now for us to consider the options moving forward to continue this trajectory. I have a couple of amendments that just very minor amendments to make to the recommendation. So on page 223, point 4A, to delete the word or. I think the intention was there anyway, but just for purposes of clarity, because both options A and B are to be considered. So that is to consider the appointment of a Director of Public Health with the full service provided wholly in-house, and also to look at the option to seek to enter into a new partnership arrangement with another local authority to share a Director of Public Health and all specialist posts with no change to the current team provided in-house. The following paragraph as well, the final structure of the service to be agreed by Cabinet. So authority is delegated to the Chief Executive in consultation with Director of Public Health to look at the options. But just to be clear, the final structure of the service is to be agreed by Cabinet. So I present the paper. I look for a seconder, but I'm open to any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ian. Ian has seconded that. Any questions or comments? Before you do, if there are, I would just point out also that scrutiny considered this 2 nights ago, and there are no comments or questions relating to this issue from scrutiny. Any questions? Are we clear on the amendment?
Would you like me to read it out again, or are you?
Just as long as we're absolutely clear, Debbie, if it needs, yeah, please.
So the recommendation is that Cabinet agree to not renew the current public health partnership arrangement upon the expiration of the current agreement at the end of August 2025. That authority is delegated to the Chief Executive in consultation with the Director of Public Health to explore the following options. A, appointment of a Director of Public Health with the full service provided wholly in-house, and B, seek to enter into a new partnership arrangement with another local authority to share a Director of Public Health and/or specialist posts with no change to the current team provided in-house, with the final structure of the service to be agreed by Cabinet by the end of January 2025, to allow for any new posts required to be recruited before the end of the current agreement. And 5, the cost of the structure, new posts and/or partnership arrangement should not exceed the budget available for the current partnership arrangement funded from the Public Health Ring Fence Grant. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Debbie. No questions. Just before we go to the vote, I'd also echo those comments and thank Simon for his commitment to our council, to our authority, to our residents, to this island over the years that he's worked as the Director of Public Health. We are grateful and appreciative of those works and efforts that he's provided. Oh, Simon, you're there. We're grateful to you, Simon. I hope you're listening to your work and efforts. And as we move on to a new opportunity for this authority, we're reminded of the work that you've put into place for us, leaving us in a firm grounded place to build upon with your successor, Simon. And thank you for that. It's appreciated.
Many thanks, Leader. That's very kind words. And, I'm proud of the work we have done on the island.
Thank you, Simon. It has been proposed, has been seconded. Those in favour of, how did you do that? Yeah. That's unanimous. Thank you. And your second item is the Holiday Activity and Food Programme Grant Recommendations, Christmas 24. It's page 237. Just before you do to that, I'll mention that scrutiny also looked at this. Scrutiny looks at all of the Cabinet, most of them or all of the papers 2 days before the Cabinet meeting. And on this item, scrutiny reported that it was noted that one of the organisation lists was Oakfield Primary School, which was under consideration for closure from September 25. It was requested that a written response be provided to explain how this would be taken forward should the school be closed. My answer to that is that we are considering tonight a scheme for this year, December 2024, and not for post-September 2025, making in some ways the question redundant. But it is noted, and that's a comment that should be recorded, that this is not for post-September 25, this is for December 2024. There's been a proposal, there has been a proposal.
Thank you, Leader. I'm really delighted to be presenting this paper because what it actually puts forward is additional funding that we can use. Hence, what we're being asked tonight is to approve the grants in Appendix 2. Appendix 1 actually lists all of the providers that grants have already been agreed. So this is a significant package of support. You will see from Appendix 2, I'm delighted that we do have some new providers. We have an additional total spaces, 394. But we've also got an amount where if there are more places requested for a particular activity, we do have the facility to top up. I would highlight that the holiday activity and food scheme is aimed at those children that are entitled to free school meals. So it's very much part of what we are doing as a council to support our residents, those that are most vulnerable, and children and families. And I will say, I do regularly visit the HAF schemes. It's actually, it's amazing, the actual variety from our providers, but the golden thread, as it were, that runs through is there is a hot meal provided as part of the scheme. And I do know that any surplus, I know those schemes, they do actually identify and offer that to the children to take home. So it not only necessarily benefits those children, and we have had children actually saying, I'm receiving a meal and my brother or my sister doesn't. So the reach of this, it actually goes farther than is perhaps obvious from the paper. I'm also really pleased that in this particular instance, we've introduced take-home support packages. So the providers are tasked with providing 4 full days of delivery, but where they can't, there are packages that can be given. Again, things like book tokens, dental care kits, recipes, food. So again, it very much fits into that whole support package that we are providing for residents. And I think it's also really important to say it's fun. The children have great fun. They get a hot meal, they have activities, they're learning, they learn about nutrition, but it's all very, very much in a fun environment. And the last one I attended was actually one of them in my ward, where there were animals involved, and that was absolutely great. So, as I say, I'm really, really delighted to present this paper for this additional funding. And I will now go to the recommendation that Cabinet approves the award of grants to the organisations identified in Appendix 2 to this report to a total value of £41,017.79. And I look for a seconder. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Debbie. Do I have a thank you, Karen? Seconded that. Any questions, comments, or queries? Karen?
These are brilliant projects. It's wonderful. But I just wanted to say one thing that you didn't say, which I think is really important from my point of view. It's the to be safe and actually not socially isolated. These children have gone through enough with COVID, and I think that's a really important element to that whole programme. So thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Any other comments? If I might add then, just to mention, and thank you, Debbie, for this, as an investment by this authority. We've already agreed partially an investment to provide 838 places in varying providers, and tonight in Appendix 2 we've agreed another 394, nearly 400 places. And as you said, Debbie, we're investing £41,000 into that. Great idea, great investment by this council, supporting those people. Hot meals, activities. It's a great scheme that I'm proud to be part of this cabinet that's I know is going to support this. Those in favour of this proposal, that is unanimous. Thank you all. That leads me on to the Cabinet Member for Climate Change, Biosphere and Waste, Councillor PC Wilcox, who unfortunately is unwell. and I, on her behalf, will present this paper. There is a second paper that she would have presented, which Councillor Stevens will present shortly after. The paper is an introduction to the Isle of Wight Council tree management strategy, and I am pleased to present it on Laura's behalf. To seek approval for the Isle of Wight Council's draft tree management strategy. This strategy outlines how we can take care of our trees, making sure we follow the law and manage them well. Our goal is to protect and improve our tree stock in such a way that benefits both people and the environment. The tree management strategy fits in with several important council plans, including those for regeneration, climate and sustainability, planning, the local nature recovery strategy and open space plans. And the plan highlights how crucial trees and woodlands are for the island's future. Strategy will guide how we plan for the island's trees, ensuring we follow best practice in tree management. It will help us maintain a healthy and diverse tree population on council land, which is vital for our landscapes and community. The council is responsible for thousands of trees on its land, thousands. Challenges like ash dieback and severe weather are putting more pressure on our tree management efforts. Therefore, it's important that we introduce a plan and a strategy that allows us and gives us the tools to take care of those issues. So the recommendation is that Cabinet approves the Isle of Wight tree management strategy. It's there in its entirety. I thank the officers who brought this forward. There's a lot of work involved in doing so. It's a comprehensive strategy and paper which we can also be proud of. I'm looking for a seconder. Thank you, Jonathan. Therefore, the motion, any questions or comments? So Jonathan, please, followed by Debbie.
Thank you, Leader. I'm very happy to second this. They say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. I'm not sure if the same applies to tree strategies. It's a famous quote. I can't remember. Thank you for taking my thunder away. But as I say, I'm very pleased to support this. The process, you said that a lot of work has gone to it. The process actually started when I held the brief that Councillor PC Wilcox now holds. So I think there's best part of 2 years work in this, if not a bit more. And it was plain there was a need for such a policy at that time. And I think that need has just grown over the years it's been in development. I'm also pleased that, as the document makes clear, this, while it applies to Isle of Wight Council trees, it also aims to encourage a similar approach to the management of trees across the island. And I think anyone wanting to get a flavour of the ambition, but the breadth of this strategy would be well-minded to look at page 5 of the strategy, which sets out the scope. I'm not going to reiterate it, but it's a useful outline of what is intended here, and it is very good and very sound. And I'd also like to mention in passing, as an informative, that we're seeing, in terms of enforcement, hopefully the coming together of body of tree wardens on the island again. That is something we did have in place about 20 years ago. Seems to have fallen to the wayside, but certainly there have been discussions with various town and parish councils to bring forward volunteers who are keen, and that will feed into the management and enforcement actions in this strategy. So I think that is a good thing that shows that overall the importance of trees is being recognised, and this strategy will guide and mentor that going forward. So as I say, I'm very happy to second the paper on that basis.
Thank you, Jonathan. Debbie.
Thank you, Leader. Just to add to that, I think it's absolutely vital that we do have a tree management strategy. It's not just a question of planting trees and just leaving them, or the trees that we've inherited. We've seen through, partly through climate change, that trees often suffer. We've heard that they do suffer from disease. In managing it, we actually do protect trees. But I'd just like to add that part of this tree strategy is as much about planting trees as it is about actually managing them. And I think it's important that we actually set the benchmark, as it were, as a council, that we can then extend out to residents, so that we actually protect and add to our tree stock on the island. I think so. I'm very much in support of this approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Karen.
It's a great strategy, but I want to go one step further. So we just recently did a video about the tree at Lost House. How do you pronounce it? Lost Houses. And somebody actually asked me at the gym about it. They were very incensed about what's actually happened. And our wonderful officer, Natasha Dick, sent me this video. I hadn't seen it. And as soon as she watched it, she completely understood why it had to happen and the reason and for that area. So I think we need to do more of that alongside this policy, because I think people really understand it when they're explaining things. So thank you for the tree warden did that, didn't they? Yeah, so that was really good. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you all. Any further comment? Why are you smiling, Jonathan?
Well, you asked me where that quote came from. It's a very complicated story. Some say it's an ancient Chinese proverb, and some say it came from the Wisconsin Insect Survey Bulletin of 1968. And the opinion's divided between the two. I just thought you might be interested.
Thank you, Jonathan. We are appreciative of the information that you export to us at every meeting. It is most appreciated, I can tell you. We have it proposed and seconded. No further comments. Therefore, those in favour of adopting strategy, that is unanimous. Thank you. And that leads me on to the reinstatement of the Public Spaces Protection Order, referred to earlier from a public question, on pages 301 onwards from our papers. And Councillor Stevens will present this. Can I just say, while I have it in my mind, that Councillor Laura PC Wilcox is with us in the meeting, but she's offered her apologies for not being here. I'm not sure how you need to record that, but she's in the meeting, but she's unwell to attend. So thank you, as though it's recorded correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Well, this is to once again get up to speed with our Public Spaces Protection Order, which slipped over the last 12 months. So we're last 12-month period. So this is a question of coming back on and going once again. And it did give us the chance to go out to consultation to get the current mood and the current feel of island residents with regards to dogs on beaches, etc. And also those beaches that were which were already designated as dog beaches and no dogs at all during certain months of the year. We have thought about this quite a bit, and I'm not going to stifle any conversation at the moment, but what I want to do is change the recommendation, and the essence of it is to bring this paper back when we've actually dealt with the signage situation, etc., etc. But I will read that, and unless Councillor Andre, you seem to be, sorry.
If I may, it's only that there's been another slight change as requested.
Let's hear councillor Stevens, and then if you wish to amend it, Debbie, we'll take that on.
Well, all I want to do is, as I say, this is Councillor Peter Wilcox's paper, but you know, we've got a situation throughout with regard to the consultation. I will go into some of the consultation which I've opened up on the said page of the paper, but I also have a little bit of information that's been passed along to me. And as many of you know, the PSPOs are vital tools that help us maintain quality of life in the community by addressing issues such as dog fouling, dogs on beaches and dogs in public places, dogs in cemeteries, etc. Following this consultation, which was extremely thorough, and as I said, there was dealt with under the how can I say, under the guise of actually bringing forward current views and concerns and understandings. And I think that's important. This is not bringing back something with a historical set of views. This is current. But what I want to say is, okay, just to go down through a list to give you a feel for the consultation. Dog fouling, 100% of respondents supported the reinstatement of this order requiring dog owners to remove feces from public land. Dogs on beaches, 58 respondents agreed that dogs should be excluded from selected beaches between 1st of May and 30th of September, with quite a few suggesting a time limit between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Dogs in cemeteries. 97% of the respondents supported the requirement for dogs to be on a lead in cemeteries. I absolutely support this personally, because Ryde Cemetery, a massive area of sacred land, is within my ward, and the vast number of dog walkers are totally responsible, but sometimes we have to question and query and ask people to keep their dogs on leads. Dogs in fenced playgrounds, 96% of respondents agreed that dogs should be restricted from fenced children play areas. Dog control on public highways, 96% of the respondents supported the requirement for dogs to be on lead on public highways. Dog control at St Helens Dover revetment, 81% of respondents agreed that dogs should be on a lead in this area during the summer months. Dog control on rights of way is 98% of the respondents supported the requirement for dogs to be on a lead when walking through livestock areas. Based on this feedback, the recommendation is to approve the reinstatement of the public space protection order relating to dogs as set out in the report. Our goal is to balance the needs of dog owners with the broader community's right to clean and safe public spaces. I now open it up to a very productive discussion.
Lively debate. There's a proposal. Do I have a seconder for that proposal or any other? Debbie.
Thank you, Leader. I would like to propose an amendment to the recommendation, and it comes out of the question that Paddy Lightfoot put earlier, and my the views of what I believe to be the majority of Sandown residents, which this time around I don't feel was accurately represented in the consultation, but I accept that the consultation was anonymised and therefore there is a blanket policy to be adopted. So with that in mind, I'd like to put forward the following amendment. That in 3 years' time, when the PSPO policy comes up for renewal, the consultation responses will be divided into wards to be able to assess more specifically residents' views, to include time periods and the PSPO orders made accordingly. At this time, the maps for consultation, this is in addition, at this time, the maps for consultation in Sandown will be changed. That's now, not in 3 years' time, but now, so that the western boundary of the Sandown dog exclusion zone is reduced eastward to stop at the groin east of the public toilets near Lake Slipway, and the signage and maps required for enforcing the dog exclusion zone are audited and the number of required replacements costed. This is to correct a current anomaly. And I can hand this.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. That's a proposal to amend the recommendation. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Thank you, Julie.
Sorry,
Jonathan.
I don't think we've actually got a seconded motion yet. So if Councillor Stevens accepts that amendment, we can just proceed as per normal without having to vote separately.
I'll ask Councillor Stevens if he's. Councillor Stevens, we've had an amendment to the recommendation. Are you happy to accept that amendment?
Yes, most definitely.
Thank you. Therefore, we have an amended recommendation. It has been seconded. I know, before I ask if there are any further questions, comments on this, I know that Laura wants to speak. Laura, if you are able, and I know it's quite difficult, please do.
No, just to say that I'm very happy with the amendment and willing to support that. And thank you guys for stepping up when I couldn't be there. Thank you all very much. And again, thank you about the tree strategy to all the staff that have put in so much work. I'm really, really appreciative and very supportive of the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Any views or comments or questions? Okay, well, we've had the amended version seconded. Therefore, those in favour of the amended version, please show that's unanimous. Thank you. Leads us on to the report for of the Cabinet Member for Economy, Culture and Leisure. Julie, and it is the Isle of Wight playing pitch strategy, pages 341 in our papers. Julie.
Thank you, Chair, and hopefully you've had a chance to look at this report. As you can see, it's ongoing reporting. This we've reached the stage now. We've got the recommendations and an action plan. As you can see, it's been really thoroughly audited, all of our playing fields, the needs of the playing pitches across various sports right across the island, and obviously talked deep dive with the individual clubs themselves as well as their governing body. So it's really a quite interesting reading there. Did you know we had 190 football teams on the Isle of Wight, for instance? It's great, isn't it? And if you look on, I think on our papers, I think it's page 363, it shows that we actually are above the average now for the UK and in England for being more active as a place, as a society, which is really good. I know, for instance, we're keeping Councillor Lucioni away from her Zumba class as we speak. So that's really good to hear that actually, we're above average, where I know sometimes we fall down in other areas, but we are actually a fitter, more active society on the island. So with that, obviously, you need to have the appropriate level and quality of the playing pitches, and some of them need a lot of maintenance. They might need investment, accessibility, bringing women and girls into the sport. For instance, in rugby, that's been flagged up as an area. But I mean, I'm not going to go into it. It's a lot of information there. But what I'm saying is really important is that we approve this strategy, because with us, the council, approving the strategy, it then gives kudos to all this hard work that's gone into it, which means that there's conversations that can be had with Sport England, and that backs up potential funding applications, which of course we don't have the answers to how we're going to do all this, but there are various strategies linked in there. I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the action plan itself. You could pick on any one area, if you like, at the bottom of the report. For instance, we've got Ride at Haven Street Recreation Ground. It's a football ground. It's got a slope on it, and the drainage problems, and it's got poor parking accessibility. So it's really gone to a lot of detail here. So it's going to be so helpful to have this strategy in place to allow individual clubs, parish councils, and other partners to apply for funding to rectify this. So just want to say big thank you for the hard work that's gone into this, and hopefully we can start improving the areas for outdoor sport on the island, because it really is so important. It's not only for 190 football clubs, we've also got 69 cricket clubs as well. I mean, it's fantastic, our grassroots sport on the island, and also our youth sports as well, to bring them up. So I'd like to wholeheartedly recommend that we accept this. I think the recommendation is printed, so I'm online, so I've got my document on my computer, so finding the actual, but look, council, we've got a papery thing next to me, that's quite helpful. Where is the, you find it? And just to say, I had no comments back from corporate scrutiny, and I've had no comments directly to me to either add to this, take away from it, or give me any instructions to do other than this. And the recommendation is that Cabinet approves the Isle of Wight Council playing pitch strategy and indicative action plan set as Appendix 1, which is attached to this report. So I'm looking for a seconder, please. Councillor.
Thank you, Debbie.
Yep.
That's proposed and seconded. Any questions or comments? Okay, so I'll make a comment that actually scrutiny, there were questions raised around the current maintenance arrangements for council-owned pitches, as some are only mowed a few times each winter, leading to very long grass, which makes it difficult to play games. It was suggested that this question be put to Cabinet at its upcoming meeting. Well, it's put to Cabinet. As we probably know, in lots of cases, and I know this from Ryde in my own area, that the town and parish council, the town council in Ryde, and I know from St Helens Parish Council, that there are substantial contributions by the town and parish councils to maintain grass cutting. And I suspect that this was raised about specific pitches or specific pieces of land where town and parish councils are involved in partly or wholly funding the grass cutting. And I would suggest to scrutiny from this Cabinet that the answer to more cuts would be potentially through the town and parish council involved, that this inquiry and comment was made from. Julie.
Yeah, apologies. I didn't realise that comment was actually related to this strategy. Don't see that there's a connection per se. You know, when you talk about the playing pitches, a lot of it's the maintenance rather than the overuse. And the maintenance as far as they might need new floodlights to allow training. It's more about the sport itself and what the sport needs. I think grass cutting, isn't associated with this, as you say, quite often town and parish councils. And I think we've had a lot of wet weather recently as well, which may mean the grass has grown a bit more quickly than maybe the cuts have allowed for. So I'd take on board that comment, but I don't think that's going to at all have anything to do with this particular policy, that the strategy that we're putting forward, if I may be bold to say so, Chair.
Thank you for that clarification, Julie. That's helpful. Ian.
Thank you, Chair. Over a number of years, over my lifetime, in fact, which is a number of years, I think I've played on the majority of football pitches around the Isle of Wight. And I won't list them because I don't want to bore you too much. But I've played literally all around the Isle of Wight for different clubs and different towns and villages. And sometimes when someone takes a contract out for usage, there's an agreement between the club and the organisation that provides the facility. Now, sometimes the clubs cut the grass themselves and mark the pitches out themselves. But also, sometimes that element is provided by the person that leases the pitch out to them. And there's not a blanket idea on what we can do as an Isle of Wight council, even on our own land, to say yes, we can up because the grass has got a half an inch longer, that we should go out and cut the pitch. The cutting and the marking of pitches is afforded by a payment which is included in a contract or an agreement, and that is it. Now, if there is and I've had in the past where we have had to have an extra cut, and we as a local team have requested and got it done on a local issue only. It's not an Isle of Wight issue. It's down to whoever needs their pitch to be cut or marked out. And I want to leave it at that, Chair, but I just don't like this idea that everyone, because sooner or later, those teams that only want the bare minimum cut at the bare minimum price will be priced out the market if we start to say, okay, it's got to go up in the new year and it's got to go up by this because we've got to get another 8 cuts in a year. It's not the point. It should be negotiated and directed out locally as opposed to centrally in County Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
I do apologise. I just realised perhaps I should have just declared an interest, because I'm actually a member of the Isle of Wight Rugby Club. So I just want to put that on record now. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I wonder if Ian would give
what position I play.
Ian, back to Ian's playing days when they truly did put jumpers down for goalposts. If he could remind us which football pitch has the biggest slope.
Oh, well, I know I broke my right ankle down at East Cowes.
Yes.
On the down, as you go down through East Cowes, not York Avenue, but the one back Victoria Avenue. I did that. That was quite a heavy pitch. Binston, before they took the top of the hump off, had a peak in the middle. I can go on if you want.
No, thank you, Ian. Only one was enough. We just need to know.
Should we consider a series of blue plaques?
I'm going to get a yellow card.
Yes, very good. Had a second. No further questions or comments. Those in favour of adopting the pitch strategy, that's unanimous. Thank you all. We'll move on to cabinet member announcements. Are there any cabinet members who wish to say anything? Karen, and then Julie, and then Jonathan.
So we've got the colleagues will remember to let their residents know there is the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire Authority consultation on the safety plan. That's really important. And I've forgot. CCTV. So work continues on this administration's commitment to having the CCTV fully manned. So I just want to say thank you to staff that are doing some really good work on that to try and take that forward for our aspiration for that. This may seem a small thing, but I asked for this a couple of years ago, and it's coming to the crematorium. It's going to be a post box, and it's going to be called Letters to Heaven, so people can write to their whatever they want to convey to their loved ones that they miss. So that's going to be great. Donna Jones' new crime plan is now published, so have a take a look at that. That's how the police, the PCC panel will keep her to account, basically, to make sure she's doing what she's doing. And that's it. Thank you.
Karen. Julie.
Thank you, Chair. Just a few things just to take note of. So the work on the new Isle of Wight economic strategy continues. In fact, there was a session this afternoon with the cultural sector. We've got the timeline now indicative for the draft strategy to come to Cabinet in January. So there'll be a time for some public scrutiny there, and also a scrutiny committee should they so choose. So there's been great engagement from different stakeholders from right across the island, so everyone's fed into this, which is that's really good. One Leisure continuing the good recovery post COVID, so getting back up to the figures we were at. Obviously where costs have increased, we might have back up to the numbers, but of course the increased costs that that everyone's had to absorb are still mean that we're not quite up to the break-even point. In fact, no, it was a positive point actually prior to COVID. We've got a big weekend at Dinosaur Isle this weekend. Actually, it's called Blast in the Past. You can take your latest latest finds there. You found anything on the beach, you get them. Someone will be there to look at them and tell you what they are. We've got a speaker there on tap, Dr. Jerry Hooker from the National History Museum. He's a fossil mammal expert. But we've got loads of other people going to be there. Isle of Wight Bus and Coach Museum, Heritage Service, the Metal Detecting Club, Timbola Museum, of course, Dinosaur Isle, Museum of Iron History, Newport Roman Villa, and West Coast Fossils. It's 2 days, and it's only £1 per person, free parking as well. It's a fantastic opportunity to take anyone who's interested, take the family there, to really dig deep into fossils and all that sort of fun. So next week we've got Arts Council England coming to the island for 2 weeks. So in fact they're going to be 2 days, and they're going to be having a session, with all councillors prior to full council, just to update us all on the progress of 3 years of being a priority place and all the investment, which I think is about £7.2 million since we became a priority place. It'll be really good to hear that. I was invited to present to 30 councillors last week, come from across the country, at an LGA Arts Council Leadership Essentials training event, and my topic was tourism and culture. It was very well received, but actually it's quite an easy task given the richness of our culture and the value of tourism to our economy. So it's really good to be able to give our perspective to a national audience. And went to the Bank of England lunch today. We had an update from one of the people that works with businesses there, giving very helpful context to current financial situation and projections, and very interesting listening to Councillor Lily's question. And I've seen we've got a motion as well next week, so I better give a bit more information on that as well. But basically there's a lot of unknowns still, so it's very difficult to make projections. And we've got Small Business Saturday on the 30th November, so look out for what's going to be happening on that day. But it's an opportunity, obviously it's across the world, but it really is an opportunity for us to support our small businesses across the island, especially coming up into Christmas. So that's all from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. And free parking, of course, for a Small Business Saturday. Free parking.
Free parking, is it the same from 12 o'clock onwards?
It's a gesture from the Highways Department to our small businesses, to allow people to attend our town centres and be able to park without cost.
It's normally at long stay car parks from 12 o'clock onwards. If it's the same, I wasn't sure about announcing it because I wasn't sure if there's any tweaks this year, but that's what it normally is.
That's phenomenal. Thank you, Julie. And thank you for your work off island, representing this island elsewhere to other councillors and other interested parties on promoting the Isle of Wight. Thank you for that. I know Karen does it also, Andy, and I know we all do it, but in terms of your role at the LJ. So thank you for that. Jonathan.
Thank you, Leader. 3 things I'll mention briefly. But first of those, could I say thank you for the answer you gave to Mr. Binfield to that question earlier, and I hope that has clarified things for him and others. I was a little surprised the question was asked because I think I should say that I have, during the course of the consultation that we've just had, spoken at length with the Town Council, Brading Community Partnership, and Mr. Binfield himself. I must have spent a few hours with him. So I was a little puzzled, but thank you for making that clarification. I didn't speak to the QPMR earlier because I suspect with what is going on, much of what is in there will be under the microscope when we meet next, because the publication date for the proposals following the school place planning consultation is the 4th of December, and they will be considered at our next cabinet meeting on the 12th of December. That is still the plan. There have been some questions about the capacity of staff capacity to deal with that, but I've been assured and I'm seeing that all is going properly and well. And I'm having a formal meeting about that next week to see what the progress is. The only other thing I would like to mention is we had an Ofsted focused visit on our care services last week. It's not formally published yet. I think I can say that the concluding meeting left managers and staff feeling positive, and the formal letter of outcome will be published on the 5th of December. So we look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And if I just may, I might comment that I personally would like to thank you and on behalf of the Cabinet for the work that you've done on the school place planning, above reproach, supported by a fantastic team that we have, but in a difficult circumstances. I feel that you've conducted yourself in a way that's absolutely above reproach, in a manner that is anything but biased, or has been absolutely open and inclusive of all of those that need to be. It's a difficult thing to deliver, as we all know as a cabinet. But I want to thank you for what you've done on that, and believe the question was answered in a perfectly reasonable way. Julie, Debbie.
Thank you, Leader. Just a couple of things from me. I was also off island yesterday representing the Isle of Wight Council at the Integrated Care Partnership held a youth assembly. And I heard from some absolutely inspirational young people who are part of the Younger Researcher Training Programme cohort for 2024. They presented, they gave a manifesto, and they came forward with policies and recommendations. And I have to say, it was a real eye-opener for me as somebody who tries to take every opportunity to be an advocate for our young people, that quite often what we think young people want, with the benefit of our years of experience, is not necessarily how they see things. And it was some really good policy and recommendations came forward across a wide range of subjects. And it also proved that they didn't shy away from difficult subjects. So they tackled a wide range of subjects, and their recommendations are being taken on board and are going to be embedded in wider policy. So that was really, really good to hear. The other thing I would like to highlight, as continuing with our support for island residents, we are about to launch our latest community grant scheme from next Monday, the 18th of November. So this is our projects. So we are looking for community groups, town, parish, community councils, organisations that are going to be providing schemes that support our Isle of Wight residents struggling with food, utility-related items or wider essentials. So we are very strongly and warmly inviting them to apply for community grants from the Household Support Fund. So that opens for applications, as I say, next Monday, the 18th of November, and the deadline for applications is Friday, the 29th of November, and we do very much welcome those applications. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Debbie. Ian. If I may just then finally add, referring to your youth visit and work yesterday, that I've spoken briefly with Ashley, Director of Children's Services, and you'll be pleased to know that you're going to be part of a BA cabinet member or leader or take over for the day when we've worked out the detail. This came out of a suggestion by the peer review. It wasn't a peer review, I'm sorry, by the focus visit by Ofsted. Was it focus visit? It was the peer review. I'm sorry. Came out of the peer review as a suggestion, just made privately to me. And I like the idea, and so decided that that's something we'll do potentially in January. Working with Ashley and his team, we'll fix up the best way to do this. I like the idea of be a cabinet member and be the leader for a day. I don't know if that's possible. We'll have to see what can be done, but I intend to do that, and I'd love to see you with a young person, young adult, or I'm not sure how we're going to do it yet, sat beside you in one specific day, maybe even get them to try and make some decisions, even if they're not binding under our constitution. Chris, don't worry. We can do it in a manner that helps them be part of that decision making. Anyway, that's coming in January or February, whenever we can do it, Ashley, and thank you for your help and support on that. Look forward to that. That just leaves us finally, we're nearly there. Any questions?
Maybe they could do the budget.
Members' questions? There are no members' questions. Thank you all. Thank you for your support, everyone that attended. Thank you for those online that have attended.
Forward plan.
The forward plan, there is, of course, consideration forward plan.
I've considered it.
We did prior to the meeting have a quick look through that. No comments to the forward plan. We're happy with the forward plan, accept that as presented to us. Okay, so sorry then. No members' question time. 6:22. Thank you everyone for your attention and attending, and we will see you in December. This cabinet will anyway. Meeting's ended at 6:22. Thank you.